What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lopes Goes Last podcast channel. Dan Lindsey is back here with me this week. We're going to kind of do another pod like we did the last time. Not quite wrestling related, but just kind of some fun topics that we wanted to discuss. Obviously, NBA playoffs are going on right now, so we're going to get into that. We also want to talk a little bit of baseball. We don't talk enough baseball on this channel, I don't think, and so we're going to talk baseball as well. So Dan has come up, much like last week, if you saw the last one with our kind of 5 topics of wrestling. Dan has come up, I don't know if it's 5, but he's come up with a few questions and topics that we're going to go over. He let me know a little bit beforehand, but I purposely tried to not super overanalyze everything because I want to kind of come up with things on the spot and just kind of give my natural reaction to things, as I'm sure he would as well. So we're going to just kind of go into these topics and just kind of see what happens. It's going to be fun. Dan, why don't you kind of take us through why you wanted to kind of do something like this week instead of just diving into NBA playoffs or something like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a nice little mix of sports right now. We got basketball. Playoffs are great right now. This is probably the most fun I've had with the NBA playoffs in a few years.
Yeah.
I feel 90% of the series have been very entertaining, very close. You know, Nuggets, Timberwolves. You know, the last round. It's probably the best series so far outside of maybe what's going on right now with the Celtics sweep and the Mavs up 3-1 in their series at the time of recording. The playoffs are just a blast. I've always loved the NBA, and even kind of with the freelance stuff I've done, I've almost kind of liked basketball more than football, honestly, in a lot of respects. And we're talking baseball today too. Baseball is kind of the first love for me for sports. Growing up watching the Braves on TBS all the time, you always saw them. So I just became a quick fan, and I grew up in Wisconsin. To where one team I'll actually talk about a little bit tonight, you grew up in Wisconsin, you're a Brewers fan, if you're faithful to all the Wisconsin teams, and I'm just like, Brewers stink, Braves have this great trio of pitchers, I'm a Braves fan. So I've always going to follow the Braves. I can go sit, down at the Greenville Drive, almost probably every game every week, and just enjoy it. It's minor league baseball, it's not the great, but we've seen so many prospects come through Greenville. Another pod sometime, maybe.
Possibly.
Where we've seen so many of those prospects come through, and it's fun to see who's that next possible prospect. I mean, there's a lot of guys that come through Greenville that don't always make it to the majors, but there are a good amount of, quite a few dozen of maybe honestly close to 90 or 100 at this point. Since the drive have been established the last 15 years, that a lot of prospects have come through and are have made it to the majors or are in the majors currently, whether it's for the Red Sox or another team. Yeah. All forever travel already here. But I just figured it'd be fun to touch on both NBA and MLB. Again, it's just we can't always talk about wrestling. We could.
We 100% could do that.
100%. But I figured, let's change it up every once in a while. We both love these sports, so it's very easy for us, I think, to go back and forth. I've really enjoyed the Mavericks and the Timberwolves series. Obviously, the Celtics have been doing astounding, honestly getting better by the series, I swear, through the NBA playoffs. So, I'm kind of looking forward to that and kind of just getting your reaction to the Celtics, But at first, I got to make us talk about, I'm going to make you wait in the Celtics, though.
That's okay.
What's your thought so far on the Mavericks and Timberwolves series? It's again 3-1 as we record this. They honestly came so close to a sweep on Tuesday night that I didn't watch much of the game. I had other stuff. I turned in for the last 55 seconds. Luka hits that and 1 3-pointer. I'm like, I think they put him within 2 or 3 again.
Would have been 3 and he missed the free throw.
That's right.
It would have been 2, but
right.
He missed the free throw, so it was 3.
But I was like, holy cow, if they pull this off, NBA puts out a starting 5 newsletter every day after a set of games. And every game I think has been within 6 points one way or the other with under 5 minutes to go. The clutch time, I think, is what they typically
term 5 or less points, 5 minutes or less to go.
Yeah, and I think every game in this series so far has been that. And I'm just like, wow. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this series so far?
Yeah, I said this in my stream from last week. I made a very public apology to the Dallas Mavericks, but I feel the need to do it again because they just continue to impress me more and more the more I watch them. They are a completely different team than what they were at the beginning of the year. I guess I just simply underestimated the amount of impact that Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington were going to have. I obviously knew that they were good players.
Right.
Daniel Gafford was arguably, I mean, this is wild to say, but he was arguably the best player on the Wizards, which is, I mean, not saying much, admittedly, but at the same time, like, that's being the best player on an NBA team, no matter how good or bad that team is an accomplishment. I mean, that's really good. PJ Washington has kind of underwhelmed in Charlotte for several years. We kind of thought that he'd be more of a 20 to 23 point per game scorer. He really never got above that 16 to 17 threshold. He may have had 1 year where he was like 18 or 19, but still, the point being is that he never really got to that next level that we thought he could as a top 10 draft pick. And he is kind of, I would say he's living more up to that potential in Dallas. He's still a lot of the same PJ Washington. I think in this series, I don't know what the updated numbers are before last night, but I believe he was shooting 24% from three-point range in the series against the Wolves.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah.
Now in the fourth quarter, he'd been shooting like 45% because sure. It's how it always seems to work, right? But, again, I guess I underestimated the difference that those guys were making defensively. And then obviously spacing the floor and giving Luka other options, at least in terms of PJ Washington, not necessarily Daniel Gafford in that way. But he's another lob threat. Obviously, I think the best thing about their offense this year, outside of just strictly Luka being Luka and Kyrie being Kyrie when he's on, is the amount of lobs that they're able to throw and how that opens up their offense vertically. So Gafford is great at that. He's been a great defender. I think he's averaging 3-point-something blocks a game in the series against the Wolves. I mean, just an incredible showing for them all series. I think that when you look at the Wolves, they built their team to beat the Nuggets. Yes. And gosh darn it, they accomplished it, right? They did. Yeah. They accomplished that goal.
So shocked about that.
Yeah, they accomplished it, and they didn't really have much else to solve any other problems outside of the ones that Denver gave you. Because Denver, no rim protection. Listen, Joker's the best player in the world, but he's not a good interior defender. He just has never been in his entire career. Right. And so Anthony Edwards can just get to the rim at will, and he wouldn't have to worry about getting denied. Obviously, you're looking at the subpar perimeter defense in certain metrics. I think in the overall metric, the Nuggets were like 9th in the league in defense.
Yeah, they were one of the better ones, yeah.
I think that really is carried by Aaron Gordon and KCP. I think that really you got those two guys, and that's really it. And I think that the Wolves, just as a kind of total roster, especially defensively, were built to stop the Nuggets. And then obviously you go up against the Mavs, and it's a completely different story. You've got much better interior defense, Luka and Kyrie stepping up on defense to kind of fortify the perimeter. And then, offensively, they have a little bit more dynamic of weapons in terms of guards on the perimeter that can kind of do things, obviously, namely Luka. But I think the main kind of advantage that Dallas has over Minnesota, it's going to sound silly, but it is Luka Doncic. But more specifically, it's his size versus Jaden McDaniels. So Jaden McDaniels, fantastic perimeter defender, all defensive second team. I would have put him on the all defensive first team with how good just that team defense was. I would have put him on the first team personally instead of Herb Jones. But that's just my opinion. Herb Jones obviously had a fantastic year as well. But he's 190 pounds. And Luka's 240 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing where you're looking at it like, okay, well, if you're going to put Jaden McDaniels on Luka Doncic is either going to be able to bully him in the post, or he's going to be able to get past him, put him on his hip, get him behind him, and throw lobs. And that's going to basically be it. And that's literally what Luka has done all series long. If you watch the games, you can actually physically see him kind of barely narrowing around the screen, and then McDaniels is on his hip, and he just rides McDaniels on his hip all the way down to the free throw line, and then he either shoots a floater, steps back, shoots a mid-range, throws a lob, kicks it out to the three-point line. He can do whatever he wants to Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels cannot stop him. Yeah. And so in Game 4, the adjustment was Jaden McDaniels can't stop Luka. So what are we going to do? We're just going to put Jaden McDaniels on Kyrie Irving and hope that he does a better job of stopping Kyrie, because guess what? If Luka goes off for 40 points tonight, he's going to go off for 40 points anyway, so who cares? Stop somebody else if you can't stop Luka. And it worked.
Yep.
You know, Kyrie had for his standards, a bad game offensively. Luka had a slightly worse game with Anthony Edwards on him, because Anthony Edwards is, I think, a little bit quicker in terms of his movements and a little sturdier.
The size is just even a difference maker, I think, there. And he was hungry. I mean, I think he had some post-game quotes where he took it kind of personal on some things.
Absolutely.
Where the series has been going. And that's great to hear from the guy that's, the leader of that team. As much as, you have Cat and Gobert there, I think Ant is definitely the leader of that team.
Yeah.
And to your point, Ant and Cat, they combined for 54 points. That's the first time they had gotten over 40 points the whole series in a game. The game 1, game 2, they combined for 35 in game 1, 36 in game 2. Finally got above the 40 mark in game 3.
And that's even with Cat stinking up the joint again.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's, we have, a lot better, the stars, you get kind of flip for the stars. As much as the role players that you brought up are as perfect, the stars got flipped. Game 1, Luke and Kyrie had 63. Game 3, Luke and Kyrie had 66. They didn't even get to the 50-point mark to combine last night. And that's the difference maker.
No, yeah, 100%. And that was actually going to be my next point is, there's all this talk, even what I just mentioned, about, your role players, your defensive guys, your Mike Conleys, your PJ Washingtons, your Daniel Gaffords. At the end of the day, this series has come down to the performance of the two stars on each team.
Yep.
Guess what? The first 3 games, Luka and Kyrie outscored Cat and Ant. They won the first 3 games. Cat and Ant outscored Kyrie and Luka in Game 4. Yep. They won Game 4. It's not that hard to understand. Yep. It's kind of one of those things where it's almost like smack your forehead, duh. Of course, the Stars play better, they're going to win. But that's what happens when you get to this point. Sure, we're going to talk about the Celtics later, but yeah, you could talk about how great Derek White plays or how good of a game Drew Holiday can have or whatever the case may be. And yeah, for one game, you can look at it if somebody makes a big play or if somebody has a really good game, you could say, oh, look at how great this person played. He really stepped up tonight. But at the end of the day, every single game, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to have to step up or else they're not going to win a championship. It's got to be – it can't be Jason Tatum stunk but Jaylen Brown but Derek White. No, it's got to be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown balled out and Derek White and Drew Holiday and Chris. That's how it's got to be. Now, it doesn't have to be all those guys at once, but it's got to be those two and one other person.
If the Jays show up, both show up like they did every single game against the Pacers. And I even texted you before both series started. I'm like, both teams are going to 7.
Oh, I said it too. Yeah.
Well, and again, we'll get to the Celtics one in a second, but the fact that we were on the brink of a sweep in the Mavs and Wolves series, maybe we get a gentleman's sweep here. I'll get to that in a second too. But we were talking about Doncic, a little before we even started recording. It's he's just crazy. He is his 9th playoff career triple-double the other night, even despite the loss. Anthony Edwards was actually 1 assist away from a triple-double. He had 29 points, 10 rebounds. I keep thinking about the draft where Luka and Trae Young got drafted, and the Mavericks were like, "Hey, Atlanta, we'll draft Trae for you, but we want you to draft Luka for us." And they swapped them, and the Mavs were like, "Hey, we'll even throw a first-round pick in here for next year." I think it was protected top 5, but it still translated the next year because Mavs were like a bottom 10 team, so it still translated to them that next year. And I'm seeing this, and I'm thinking, not really knowing much of Luka, probably being a little more knowledgeable about Trae from college instead of Luka internationally. I'm like, Trae has his weaknesses for sure, and they keep getting worse and worse every single year. But I'm like, this could turn out to be a somewhat even trade, depending on who they get in that next year's draft. Trae plus a first for Luka. I mean, that might not work out too bad. Well, I feel sorry for Atlanta and their fans now because they could have had a Luka.
Yeah.
And Luka just gets better and better and better. Came across some stats here. There's only 2 people, there's almost 800 people that have played 40 playoff games, right? Mm-hmm. Only 2 people have averaged more than 30 points a game in those games? Want to take a stab at who the two are?
Through their first how many games?
They've played at least 40 games.
40 games?
And they've averaged at least 30 points in those games. Their points per game is at least 30 points. Two players have made.
I'm trying not to cheat here.
Should have turned. Well, I mean,
so obviously Luka. We're talking about Luka. So Luka's going to be one, and I'm between two. I know it's not Kobe because he struggled really early in his career. I'm leaning. So it's Michael or LeBron. It's Michael. Okay, so I was like, it's Michael or LeBron James. It's one of the two. So I was going to lean Michael just because he was more of a, like, especially early in his career, he was like, I'm going to put this whole team on my back and average 35 points a night because he didn't have anybody else.
And I mean,
granted, so LeBron.
I'm curious to see where LeBron actually fills that too. I want to go back and kind of do a deep dive in stats there, but and he's the only. So that's off the stats to be compared. It's like, me and Jordan are the only two people that average more than 30 points a game in at least 40 games played in playoffs.
Sure.
And that's, again, a bank of 767 players. Luka is also the only player to accumulate 1,300 points, at least 1,300 points, at least 400 rebounds, and at least 350 assists through 43 playoff games.
Sure. I mean, it does not shock me. He is a stat stuffer, and it's the way he plays. He's got the ball in his hands all the time. Those things, but I think we've seen those things don't always translate to success. I'm not saying that they can't. Right. Obviously, they're one game away from the finals. They're pretty successful right now, and they made it to a Western Conference Finals at one point a couple of years ago.
2 years ago. Yep.
Certainly, it is successful, but it's not always the most successful way to play. So, I think obviously he needed a lot more help. Kyrie Irving bringing him over certainly has helped give him like a Robin to his Batman, and obviously now with surrounding the role players, I think that they have a shot this year to win the whole. They have a shot to win the whole thing this year. I hope they don't. Obviously,
I get that.
They have a shot. They certainly do.
So they're up 3-1 now.
Yep.
What I found interesting too. The Timberwolves are 3-0 this postseason when facing elimination.
And that's a team that we questioned their ability to perform in those kinds of games, to perform in the big stages. And they're undefeated this year in the most high-pressure game you could have, which is a closeout game.
That's how they beat Denver. Obviously a little bit different. They went up 2, then lost 3 straight, and won the last 2 to win the series, which, again, was insane series. And, I mean, no team has come down from a 3-0 deficit. So it's like the odds are stacked against them, but it's almost kind of like they're like, bring it on. Like Anthony said, I'm taking this personal. It's like, let's be that first team.
Absolutely.
Would it shock me if they pulled it off?
I'm sure.
It would, but it wouldn't.
Fair enough.
Whoa, no one's ever done this, so obviously I don't think it'll happen. But if it happened, kind of like the Sox in 2004, first team to come back, to win an ALCS down that much.
But baseball is such a. I mean, obviously, I played baseball for 20 years, so like baseball is such a funny sport where like you almost don't even have to be better than the other team to beat them 4 times.
It's gonna be luckier sometimes.
But you just gotta get hot at the plate.
Yep.
And you have to pitch well. Like, and I know it sounds like so simple. Like, yeah, those are the 2 things that you do in baseball, you dummy. But like, it really is. Like, look at the Nationals in 19? Did anybody think they were better than the Dodgers or the Braves or the Astros?
Last year.
Right, exactly. So like you look at these things and it's like, man, all it takes is a couple of guys stepping up and a few bounces to go your way in baseball, and you can honestly come back down 3-0. Because like look, if you look at the 2004 Sox, it was all right, game 4, you've got, I don't even remember who was pitching game 4, but Derek Lowe or somebody, whoever it was. Like, this guy's on the mound. Man, you better not let us win game 4, because if we do, then Pedro Martinez, who in my opinion is the greatest pitcher to ever live, is on the mound tomorrow. And then you got Curt Schilling, who was up for Cy Young Award that year, the next game. And then in game 7, all bets are off. Like, it's just one baseball game. Anybody can get hot at the plate. One guy can hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning, and like, you can't stop. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, it bounces, everything goes crazy. So like in baseball, all you have to do is get a good stretch going, and you're going to get hot. I mean, look at the Nationals this year. I'm going to talk about this later, but the Nationals are going to be, spoiler, my surprise team in the National League. Yes, they've lost like 5 or 6 games in a row coming into this video, but previously they were 24-23. They were above 500, and I didn't think, not that I didn't think they were going to win 25 games this year. Of course I thought they would, but like it felt like they were so bad that like they weren't going to win anything.
Right.
And suddenly they're like 3rd or 2nd place in that division, and you're like, what? This is crazy. So yeah. Anyway, basketball though.
But I mean,
is so different.
It is, but I feel like it's that magnitude. If the Timberwolves were to pull this off, I mean, to me, it's that magnitude of the 04 Red Sox of pulling that off against the Yankees. You know. Because I mean, we're still looking at only 15 teams have ever pushed a series to Game 6 when they're down 3-0.
Yeah.
And only 4 of those have fought all the way back to reach a Game 7.
And
Celtics from last year.
Celtics last year. Don't remind me. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I'm over it now. We're good.
Get over it. This is your year. This is your year.
Maybe. We'll see.
But, to me, I could see this going to Game 6 just because you're going to Minnesota.
Yep.
So I'd be hard pressed to pick against the Timberwolves there.
Yep. I agree.
Then you get to go back, but then the Mavericks could go back down to Dallas. They go to their home court,
and they're going to be playing desperate. They know if they don't win that game, they're toast.
And if I'm Mark Cuban, I'm down on that sideline. I'm doing everything. I'm rallying, and I'm giving all my friends front court seats. Whatever it takes to make sure there are 99% Mavericks fans and no Timberwolves fans in that arena, and that arena doesn't go quiet at all.
Oh yeah,
the whole game.
Oh yeah, because I think with the weight of the Timberwolves franchise never reaching a finals, I don't even know. Have they even reached a conference finals before this year?
20 years ago, Kevin Garnett.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. They did that one time, right?
I forget who they would have lost to.
Probably the Lakers or
Lakers or Spurs.
Like Spurs, yeah, one of them. Probably.
2004 was probably Lakers though.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one of them. But regardless, I think the Mavs know if it's a Game 7 in Minnesota, they're going to have a hard time. I mean, I would feel like if you've lost 3 straight games to the Timberwolves and you got to go back to Minnesota for Game 7, barring what happened to the Celtics last year, which is your best player gets hurt literally 18 seconds into the game, I don't think the Mavs have much chance at that point. So I think if it gets to Game 6, which is what I think is going to happen, I completely agree with you, the Mavs are going to come out and they're going to play desperate. They're going to play like, this is our Game 7. We have to win tonight or we're not winning the series.
Yep.
And they're just going to overwhelm the Timberwolves in Dallas. Yep. Like, that's just the way I'm looking at it. So I'm kind of picking at this point also Mavs in 6, which makes me very happy because obviously as a Celtics fan, we're already not playing, right? We're getting all that rest. I love the idea of seeing the Mavs play meaningless games at this point, which is essentially what the 2 games would be.
Right.
Because you could have put them away in Dallas in Game 4. You were in a close game and you couldn't.
Yep.
So hopefully they lose Game 5. They spend all that energy. It's less time you can prep for Boston. And then obviously, you expend all that energy. Luka continues to wear down that ankle that's been bugging him. Guys are just getting beat up more and more and more. The Minnesota Timberwolves are a very physical defensive team, so it's going to wear.
That's what I was going to say too. It's like I would almost rather see Boston and Dallas just because I feel like that matchup works in Boston's favor a lot more than the matchup against the Minnesota because I don't know the status of Porzingis at this point as
nobody does.
So that's not helpful. I feel like you could get away with it against the Mavericks, but I mean, you'd almost have to start both Horford and Porzingis the whole series if it's Boston Minnesota because they're gonna start Cat and Rudy Gobert and they have on the team now escapes me
Naz Reid.
Yeah, Naz Reid, and he's
better than both Cat and Rudy Gobert. You heard me.
Wow,
you heard me.
Both.
He has been the best player in the series against the Mavs.
Oh no, I mean it was last night. I think last night he extended. So look at that 3, and I'm pretty sure he just grabbed the ball, nice little fake right to the rim, sealed the game for him.
Yeah, and he got fouled too. If you watch that carefully, he goes up.
Well, they let him play
and
that
the
last
ball,
30 seconds.
He didn't even go like this. You don't even see his fingers move. You literally just see full flat palm and the ball leave his hand because the guy, I think it was Luka, hit his arm so hard that he just the ball just kind of hovered and yet the ball still went in.
Yeah.
And it's just that's just what he does. I think he is genuinely a better player than Cat or Rudy Gobert.
Wow.
That's a bold claim. I understand that I'm probably incorrect, but I don't care. I'm saying it.
But I mean, how much longer is Gobert going to play too? I feel like he's kind of getting up there, or his contract too might not be that much more long with Minnesota. So I mean, if you want to ever move on from Gobert, I mean, he can fill right in that slot, and him playing along. And again, like you said, he's been playing very well, coming out. And helping them, especially when Cat or Gobert has been in foul trouble, whether it was against Denver.
That's pretty much every game.
He was one of the biggest keys against Denver, I think. I was able to watch majority of those games, and I felt like you didn't have him to kind of help strengthen that, that post presence, that that perimeter, right under the ring, under the basket there. Like, if you don't have him against Denver probably rolls over him.
Oh yeah.
He's a kind of an unsung role player, and better than a role player.
And he's a sixth man of the year for a reason. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Thank you. So I mean, I think Dallas leans to a slightly better matchup as a whole. I think against Boston. But I'd love to. I don't know who would you put on Luka though there.
Oh, man. I love that question. So I was obviously going to get into this when we talk about the Celtics, but we can get into it now.
I mean, I say let's switch to the Celtics.
Perfect,
we're both on the same side with the Mavs.
Yeah.
Expect them to win. Wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota pulls it off, but to me, there's no reason that Dallas can't win this in 6 at this point.
Oh, yeah. I would be floored if Minnesota pulled it off, because that would mean they'd have to beat them in Denver again, or in Dallas again, and I just don't see that. But to answer your question, so the defensive kind of the way that I would guard things defensively is I would probably go Jaylen Brown on Luka. I think Derek White should guard Kyrie. I think because Drew Holiday can, but Drew Holiday has said himself that he struggles the most against quicker guards. That are just really fast. Mm-hmm. Not to say that Kyrie Irving is the fastest guard in the world, but that kind of he fits the profile.
Yeah. When he drives, he has that second gear.
Absolutely. And so I put Derek White on Kyrie to start, mostly just because I think that out of all the guards in the NBA, first of all, just body-wise and length-wise, I think he'll give Kyrie problems. He kind of matches up perfectly. Mm-hmm. But also, he's the best blocking guard in the NBA, and I think that out of all of the people in the NBA right now, that's going to not fall for Kyrie Irving's just absolute craziness all the time. When he's going to be able to block Kyrie more often than anybody else. Now, I'm not saying he's going to block him often, because he's clearly not. I mean, Kyrie can get off shots that nobody else can.
Yeah.
But I think Derek, I put him on. I just completely blanked. Who was it? Kyrie. I don't know why I just completely blanked for a second. And then, so you're looking at Derek Lively. I would put Drew Holiday on Derek Lively. The reason is because, yes, I understand that... Derek Lively. Not Derek Lively. Derek Jones. Sorry. Wrong Derek. Derek Lively, by the way, we didn't mention this, hurt. I don't know how long he's out, but I know he got kneed super hard in the back of the head against Cat in Game 3. I mean, hard. It was nasty. Head fully, flown forward. It was an accident. Cat was going for a rebound and Lively was on the ground. Mm-hmm. But it just was terrible looking. And he didn't play the rest of that game. He didn't play last night. So hopefully he's back, because he's super important. I think he's more important and a better player than Daniel Gafford, in my opinion. And he'll give Daniel Gafford rest. Gafford is playing 42 minutes a game now because Lively's not out there. And no offense, Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleba ain't going to do it. So, they got to have...
It's starting to shape out like the New York Knicks almost.
And eventually, Gafford's going to get gassed if he keeps playing that kind of minutes and having to do what he does. But anyway, so I put Jaylen Brown on Luka, I put Derek White on Kyrie, and I put Drew Holiday on Derek Jones. Why? I understand Derek Jones can step out and can hit threes. But out of all the guys on Dallas, if Derek Jones Jr. is the guy taking 6 or 7 or 8 threes a game, I'm okay with that. And Drew Holiday can kind of roam. He can help.
Right.
He can do, and then the Celtics can rotate. obviously. And when you have Drew Holiday being the roamer, who are the guys that are going to get in the paint the most often? Kyrie and Luka. Drew Holiday can guard both those guys. Yeah. So if there's a switch, Derek White can flash out to Derek Jones. Or Jaylen Brown can flash out to Derek Jones, and they can just keep the switching, because the Celtics switch all the time on defense. So that's how I would kind of do it, because that will allow Drew Holiday to do what he has done best for the Celtics most of this year, which is be a kind of freelance roamer that is the kind of middleman free safety that's controlling the defense and kind of controlling the switches and communicating on screens. That's what's going to, I think, allow them to do the best. Now, would I hate Drew Holiday on Luka? Of course not. He's second team all defense. Everybody thinks he's the best defender in the NBA one-on-one just about every year when those NBA player polls come out and GM polls come out and stuff. Yep. So I wouldn't hate that at all. I wouldn't hate Drew Holiday on Kyrie Irving either. But I just don't think it's the best matchup. I think I'd rather have Derek White on him, and I'd rather have Drew Holiday be a roamer. And Jaylen Brown, listen, I love Luka more than most people that are not Mavericks fans. I think Luka is one of the best things to ever happen in the NBA, because I think, first of all, obviously, he's not the only foreign guy that's coming from Europe and performing very well. Of course, there's plenty of guys, Joker being one of them. Yep. But Luka is just...
Fellow Maverick Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, exactly. But, I just think that Luka is kind of opening people's eyes to how successful you can be coming from overseas, like even more successful than he was overseas. Mm-hmm. He was not this dynamic of a scorer when he was playing overseas. He just wasn't. And he said on in interviews, it's way easier to score in the NBA than it is overseas. So I think that's really, really important. And obviously he has fun.
Yeah. Well, the NBA doesn't play defense.
Well, that too. But, he just has fun. I'll never forget, I watched live one of the All-Star games. This was 3 or 4 years ago. And it was Luka Doncic on one team and Trae Young on the other. Obviously, they're going to be synonymous with each other. We've even talked about it already here. But, Luka just chucked up a half-court shot, and Trae Young and him were leaning in, and they were staring at it, and then it went in, and Trae Young just went, oh my God, and just fell into Luka's arms, and he hugged him, and they started laughing. Luka just has fun, and all the videos of him and Jokers goofing off and stuff whenever they're playing against each other or in the All-Star game and throwing balls at each other, he just has fun. He has
I feel like I've heard him even say having Kyrie on the team has helped loosen him up more. Yeah. He's like, oh, there's more outside of this to basketball, so it's almost like when he actually focuses on basketball, he's almost more focusing on the basketball, and I think that's why we've just seen him put otherworldly numbers. I mean, he was the leading scorer for the year. He's put, again, all the playoff stats that he's had. He's racking up record after record. Yep. Inevitable MVPs are coming his way soon. Could have argued even this year, but inevitable MVPs are coming his way very soon. I feel, he's primed to be one of the faces of the NBA.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think to kind of finish off what we were talking about earlier. What that's going to then allow in terms of that free-flowing, that kind of the way you look at that defense with Brown on Luka and White on Kyrie and Drew on Lively, or not Lively, I did it again, Jones, is, assuming KP comes back, which I'm sure we'll talk about that, he'll obviously be the 5, so he'll be guarding Daniel Gafford most of the time, who, let's be honest, other than lobs, is not a threat. Offensively, he's not a post player. He's not a shooter. He doesn't really have a mid-range game. Doesn't have a post game, or at least not that I've seen. Right? He does have it somewhere, but he's not going to do it against Porzingis anyway, even if he had it. So he can basically just kind of again be another guy that's just going to roam and that's just going to do stuff. Now I'm sure they're going to try to get Gafford into some pick and roll actions to bring Porzingis out of the paint, and that's fine. But then, that's going to allow Jason Tatum to be on PJ Washington. And Jason Tatum is, in my opinion, the most underrated defender in the NBA.
I feel
he's phenomenal on that.
I feel like he stepped it up a lot defensively. I feel like the whole team has been stronger defensively, this whole playoffs.
Absolutely.
Just watching them. You've talked about this, just being more patient, not, offensively, even in tougher times, but it's you just faced an Indiana team that was probably the deepest team in all the playoffs. Outside of maybe the Clippers, I would say Indiana's probably the deepest team in the playoffs.
I'd agree.
And their team is built that way.
Other than a fully healthy Knicks team.
Yeah,
fully healthy Knicks team is crazy deep, but they weren't fully healthy, obviously.
Right.
They had no win by the end.
But I mean, and you got that team, and that coach plays them that way too. It's not like they just happen to be deep, and the bench guys play 15 minutes a game. These bench guys played a lot of minutes. P.J. McConnell was key for the Pacers. I feel like their whole playoff run until they met Boston. I'm still shocked right now that it's like tonight isn't Game 5. They swept them.
Yeah,
they've literally gotten better every single series of the playoffs. And I'm just like, I feel like they almost know that like this is their year, and it's almost like if they don't get it this year, oh boy.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be disaster.
And this is why they brought Drew Holiday in. I mean, and he's made a difference. I mean, what was it, Game 3, I believe? He came up with clutch shot. Then right after that, came up with the clutch steal. Yep. Sealed the game.
Yep.
I think it was Game 3.
Yep. It was.
Yeah, and I'm just like, exactly why they brought him in. That's exactly why they brought him in. Oh, yeah. Not saying someone else could have made that play, but I mean,
I don't know if anybody else could.
He just has that nose of. And it was just such a simple swipe, too. It wasn't like, he was, like, falling behind and could have fouled the guy, or just, boop, there's the ball. And, they had some kind of weird foul thing that they were checking that I didn't understand at the end of that game either, that I don't care to get into. But it was weird. I feel like they're making up games of fouls at this point in the NBA. Another topic for another time. But yeah, no, I mean, it's, I'm so impressed with this team. I've always, Boston's always one of those teams, like, I've could never help but root for them. They've always had good players. Loved them back when they had Pierce, KG, Ray Allen, and Rondo. It was wonderful, fun teams to watch there. Even before they got those guys, Pierce was always a great player to watch. And now it's kind of like, now we got that. Now another new wave has come in with the 3 J's and Derek White. I'm jealous that they got Derek White from the Spurs. Still. But they made a move for Porzingis a couple years ago. Then they brought in Drew. Al Horford was brought back again a couple years ago too, to kind of just be that veteran presence, and he is playing a lot of minutes in the playoffs right now too, and playing well. Hit a couple really great 3-pointers, I believe, in Game 2 or 3 that were just like kept the team afloat there for a little bit, because they were all kind of struggling. Yeah, until they got their gear in. But I was impressed with that, because stuff that you've pointed out to me is, when they've struggled offensively, they just kept attacking defensively, and they did, and they could get nastier in defense, and then Indiana finally started missing shots. Because Game of 3, they literally couldn't miss. I think that whole first half. You texted me like some kind of stat out the second quarter, and it was 24-6 run or something like that. I don't think that's quite right, but. They had an insane run in the second quarter. Third quarter continued, but then 6 minutes after the third, Boston was like, "Now let's play some defense," and they played some defense. And Indiana couldn't make shots. They were trying to circus shots, and they were almost like too rushed for a team that plays fast. They're almost kind of like discombobulated. And Boston, and I even remember Boston was even trying to kind of match it. I was like, Boston, you got this team. Slow it down. And they finally got the defensive rhythm going. They finally slowed down offensively, and they came back from 18 down. And it's just like, again, I didn't expect them to sweep them. So I'm just like, what is your whole encapsulating thought on your team right now?
Yeah. So I don't have a ton to say about the Celtics that I haven't already said. I've spoken ad nauseum regarding the Celtics at this point. So. I'll just say a few kind of basic thoughts, and I'm going to try to get my buddy Evan back on the podcast at some point soon. Obviously, Pacers fan, so he's not super thrilled that I'm alive at the moment.
Give him a couple days.
Yeah, well, he'll get over it in like a decade. But no, I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be 7 games. I've said that publicly multiple times. And as close as the games were, I wouldn't have been surprised if it had gone a lot longer. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that I want to harp on and focus on right now is anybody who says, I'm looking right in the camera too. Anybody who says that the Boston Celtics had the easiest path through the playoffs of all time. I understand your perspective, and you're not completely incorrect. But you didn't have to play the Pacers. The Pacers are not normal. Like, they're not just some random 6 seed that showed up and is like, oh, I'm just so happy to be here. No, their offense was the greatest offense in the history of the NBA in 2023. That's not a fake statistic. The Boston Celtics, technically speaking, had the best offensive rating in the history of the NBA this year. Number 2 right behind them was the Indiana Pacers. But points per game, the Indiana Pacers scored more points per game than any team in history. They were the statistically best offense ever. This isn't just some random squad that just showed up and had a 45 and, whatever record with the 15th best offense and the 15th best defense and went, oh gosh, God, Don Garley, gee, I'm so happy to be here. I can't believe it. No, they were out for blood, man. Like, they were ready to win it all. They won Game 7 in Madison Square Garden. That's not something that a lot of teams have ever done. So you kind of look at it and go, man, these guys are tough. And I get it. 2 games they didn't have Halliburton. Fine. But that team just doesn't stop. There was an interview that happened. They do like the encore interviews in between every quarter with like either the coach or a player or whatever. Yeah. So going into the fourth quarter, they interviewed Andrew Nembhard, who stepped up like crazy in the series against the Celtics. He was an absolute stud. He averaged like 25 points a night. He was amazing. He literally said, and I laughed outwardly, this is what it's like to play the Indiana Pacers. When the reporter asked him, what do you guys have to do to stem the tide? You guys have struggled late in games. What do you guys have to do to turn things around in this game and hold on to this game instead of blowing it like you did the other ones? She didn't say the last part, but basically that was the point. And his response was, yeah, we just got to keep on playing random. You just got to keep on playing random. They don't even know what they're doing.
You sure random isn't a player on the team?
No, it's not. It should have been. Sure. Literally, you could have pulled NBA 2K 41 overall Joe Random out of the Pacers. He would have averaged 15 points a night. Like, in that offense, this is their offense right here.
Yeah. No,
have you ever seen that clip? I don't remember who it was, but there was an NBA coach that was trying to draw up a play in a timeout, and he couldn't figure out what side the correct side of the board was, and so he just kept flipping it upside down and sideways and turning it like 17 times. That's the Pacers. That's the Pacers. You try figuring that out. They don't even know what they're doing. Andrew Nembhard, word for word, said, we just have to keep on playing random. They just go out there and just go, I'm just going to start running. I'm just going to start shooting. I'm just going to set a screen here because I feel like it. Like, you try to figure that out. We don't know what the hell they're doing. And by the way,
not playing faster, not playing better defense,
just
not
random.
blocking more shots.
Random.
They were random.
Random.
Gotcha.
That's literally what they do, is they just do random stuff. So guess what? You know what the Celtics on defense end up having to do? Random stuff. They just are like, well, I hope this works. We'll figure that out. Oh, it's working. Cool. 2 minutes later, it doesn't work anymore because they're doing something else now. Like, it's just such a weird team to play. They make my heart just leap into my throat every time I play them. And by the way, this is a real stat. On that Game 3 run that you were talking about in the first half, the Indiana Pacers were, at one point, 13 for 17 on contested step-back mid-range jump shots. Think about that. Contested step-back mid-range jump shots. The absolute worst shot you can take in basketball is a step-back contested mid-range jump shot. And they hit all of them. They were making all of them. All of them. They were all Michael Jordan for 20 minutes. Like, all of them. And Jaylen Brown said that. Jaylen Brown never says anything that makes anybody laugh. He literally is the most even-keel, monotone, somber human being that's walking the earth. And he said, and I'm not going to say the actual word, I'm just going to shorten it for you, they turned into effing Michael Jordan. The whole team was Michael Jordan for like a whole half.
NBA Jam.
It was one of those things.
Basket on fire, constantly on fire that whole first half.
So anyway, the Pacers, anybody who says, oh, the Celtics just had such an easy time. You didn't have to play the Pacers. You did not have to play the Pacers. I understand that we swept them. I get it. But do you realize that the Boston Celtics were the first team in history to sweep a team, despite the fact that in 3 or more games you were down by 5 or more points with 5 or less minutes to go?
It's not like they blew them out.
Yeah,
by 20
they could have lost 3 of those games.
Yep.
They did not. They won all 3 of those games, which is my next point, which is now everybody can sit there and shut the heck up saying that the Celtics can't win close games. They have now won, out of their last 5 wins, 4 of them were clutch victories. 4 of them. Yep. They were down by 5 or less, or 5 or more, I should say, with 5 or less minutes. Now, I think they ended up blowing out the Cavs by the end of it. They were kind of like, they were just getting out of that big run and stuff like that when the first one. So maybe you don't count that. But 3 times out of 4 in the Pacers series, they won clutch games. Now, you could say that the Pacers blew the first one. I understand. Some people say the Pacers blew the second one. I don't think the Pacers blew the game 3. I think that Drew Holiday just really, stepped up big time on the stretch
for them. What was on the line.
Exactly. And then game 4, certainly you cannot blame the Pacers for blowing it. They did not blow it. The Celtics just won that game straight up. They just played better down the stretch, and that was it. So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
I mean, in that game 4, I mean, Brown had 29 points, Tatum had 26. Mm-hmm. 4 threes for Brown. Tatum was 2 assists shy of a triple-double. That's just...
And he sucks, by the way. I don't know if you're aware.
Tatum, oh, yeah, of course.
Jason Tatum, he's so bad.
Yeah.
He is so...
I told you.
He's so bad. Dude, he only averaged 30 in this series, dude. Do you have any idea how bad? He only averaged 30, 10, and 7. What a scrub. He can't win in the playoffs. I mean, he's awful. Yeah. Terrible player.
Yeah, I don't get the hate.
I'm just saying.
It comes down to he's from Duke, and everybody hates Duke.
Where did PJ Washington go to school?
Don't ask me that.
Pretty sure he went to Duke, didn't he?
No, I think he was Kentucky, actually.
Was he Kentucky? Oh, well, one of those blue.
Ramble about something, I'll look it up.
One of those two. Ramble about something.
I mean, that's what we do here.
Oh, man.
Let's see here.
That caught me off guard. That's funny. I will also, by the way, ramble about something. But one of those blue schools.
Kentucky.
Okay, Kentucky.
I
was gonna say, PJ Washington has been lauded for his play despite the fact that he's shooting 28% in the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure he's from Duke, but he's from another blue jerseyed school. So
basically, and I'm trying. I was actually looking to see if college career. Yeah, I think he was a one and done.
Yeah, he was.
And he could have benefited from a couple extra seasons. I don't know, and I've got another topic for another time, but to me, there's very few players that, could benefit from 2+ seasons in college basketball.
Yeah,
it's such an adjustment to the NBA.
I understand.
Yeah.
But hey, again, just to kind of wrap up my final thoughts on the Celtics, I'm obviously very happy. Clearly. It's a big relief that the Pacers are gone because anybody who watched those games that thinks that the Celtics just had an easy path to the playoffs again, it's just wrong. I get it. I understand your perspective. I do on paper, sure, but the Pacers were not a normal 6 seed.
No,
and so
we talked about that before the playoffs too. All those teams. Milwaukee was what did they come in at a third seed?
Yeah.
They could. They probably should have been. No, I thought it was 4th actually.
4 was Cleveland.
That's right. 4 was Cleveland.
4, yeah.
But I mean, Milwaukee and Cleveland were up. Top 2 of the top 3 teams for majority of the season, and then just because of how they played near the end of the season and injuries to their players, the Knicks kind of lucked into that 2nd seed.
And boy, did they need it.
Yeah, they did.
Boy, did they need it.
And I mean, it could have almost been them against the Celtics too, because I mean they almost had to play. They had to pay for them breaking their series.
Oh man, if you had to watch me in a first round series against the Pacers, I would have been like, I hate everything. That team would have just given us fits in the first round of the playoffs. But obviously, waited till the conference finals, swept them. I'm obviously very happy. with the way that things went. I'm happy that the Pacers are gone because at a certain point you just got to survive these games. It doesn't matter. I don't care how you win it. Yep. You got to win a championship by all means necessary. I don't care what you do. I don't care. This is gonna sound horrible. I don't care if you pick Luka up and give him a Bane backbreaker. I don't care what you do at this point. If you do not win a championship this year, it is going to be an absolute disaster. The media will have a field day that Jason Tatum can't win it. I don't care if Jason Tatum averages 68 points a game.
They'll still find a way.
And he's the only one on the court by the end of the... Literally, like, all other 14 guys that are eligible for the NBA Finals are all, like, blown out ACLs. And Jason Tatum is out there 5-on-1 putting up 68 points a night. They will still be like, Jason Tatum choked. You should have beaten them all at once. Isn't he that good? No. So anyway, they got to win a championship this year or it's going to be a disaster for sure.
If the Timberwolves pull a miracle off here, how scared are you of the NBA Finals?
I'm not scared of either team.
Okay.
Now, obviously, like I don't say that in a like arrogant, we're gonna kick the crap out of either team way. I just think that we are better than both of those teams, and I like the fact that we have the better team than both of the other guys. If it was Denver, I'd be absolutely just wetting myself. Like I'm terrified of the Nuggets. I always were this year, and so was everybody else.
Yeah.
But Minnesota was built to beat them, and they did. So thank you, Minnesota. Yeah. But at the same time, like I would be more afraid of the Timberwolves just because I think the 1-to-1 matchups are a bit clunky.
Right.
And I think McDaniels, even though Tatum is a lot bigger than McDaniels, I still think McDaniels is going to give Jason Tatum fits because even though he's smaller, he can still take away a lot of things that Jason Tatum likes to do. Mm-hmm. His kind of step back threes aren't going to be very, effective because he can stay with those. He's quick enough on Jason Tatum specifically that he can stop some of his downhill drives even though he's smaller. So like that's not as good of a matchup. But against Dallas, like okay, Luka's going to guard Drew Holiday because the size makes sense and the quickness makes sense. Okay, great. So what you're going to do is you're going to run pick and roll with Drew Holiday and Derek White, force a switch. Kyrie's going to get on Drew Holiday and Drew Holiday's going to back him down to the post. Good. And then, Derek Jones is... I'm so sorry. There's two Dereks. You can't expect You can't expect me to be smart. I mean, obviously. This is But, Derek Jones is going to guard, Jaylen Brown? Okay. Like, you know that Jaylen
Brown for 50
Jaylen Brown... Well, Derek, I'm not going to do it. Derek Jones, I almost did it again. Derek Jones is a very athletic guy. But he's not as athletic as Jaylen Brown is. Jaylen Brown is one of those few guys that actually can match up with Derek Jones on an athletic basis. And then obviously, I mean, Jason Tatum on PJ Washington, I don't care how much he stepped up. That's barbecue chicken for Jason Tatum. He's going to just tear PJ Washington apart.
And I feel like,
And Porzingis on Gafford. That's a whole other thing.
Porzingis is back. I think which I think we're still kind of waiting to hear what his status would be for the finals.
He tweeted out today, "I'll see you in the finals."
Okay,
he did tweet that out today. Now I don't know if that means that he's actually going to be cleared, but that's what he said.
Right, but I feel like you almost have to have him
100%. Yeah,
versus the Wolves, where I think you get away with not having to have, or you could get away with like flipping how you've done it all season of starting KP and bringing Horford on the bench. I think you could flip that if you're playing the Mavericks, where Horford starts, KP comes off the bench.
Possibly.
But I feel like you would almost need to start Horford and KP next to each other, personally.
Versus Minnesota.
Yeah.
Who would you bench? D. White? Drew Holiday? Because you're not guarding either of the, you're not benching either of the Jays.
That's true. Yeah. So I mean, I guess I can't random players there, didn't I?
Well, I mean, no. It's a fair assessment.
That's where I'm like more worried about Minnesota because it's like
right. And that was my point. Is the 1-to-1 matchup?
Who do you put on Cat? I guess
Jason Tatum. That's the only choice you'd have. Yeah. Is Jason Tatum and Al Horford guards Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
And stays in the paint. That's really the only option you have. But against Dallas, like especially offensively, like. Listen, the reason why Dallas is so successful against the Wolves right now is because Anthony Edwards loves to go downhill. And that's how half of his offense is created. Not necessarily half of his points are from layups or dunks or something, although I wouldn't be shocked. But, his drive game opens up his step back, bank mid-range jump shots. It opens up his threes off of screens. It opens up his passing ability. It opens up everything. And when Daniel Gafford is guarding Rudy Gobert, who can't shoot a ball past 4.5 feet from the basket, he doesn't have to move. He just has to go in and out of the paint every 3 seconds to avoid defensive 3-second violations and just block everything. That's all he has. So Anthony Edwards has nowhere to go. But guess what? If Daniel Gafford is guarding Kristaps Porzingis, who shoots from 38 feet out at 38%, like, Daniel Gafford's going to have to be out of the paint for the vast majority of the series against Boston. They play 5-out offense. So that means that driving lanes are going to open. And other than Gafford, if Lively, I said that one right that time, aren't you proud of me? Yes. Is out for, an extended period of time, which, personally, I hope he's not, because he's had a phenomenal rookie year. He's very important to what they do.
Yes.
If he's not out there, they have no other rim protection outside of those two players. Right. Their interior defense has been great this playoffs because of Daniel Gafford and because of Derek Lively, and they're always on the floor either separately or together. They've never, other than when Lively got hurt, there was never 1 minute where one of them was not out there. Right. So if Gafford's got to be out on the three-point line, there's no other interior defense. P.J. Washington's not going to do it. No. Derek Jones isn't going to do it. Obviously, Kyrie and Luka aren't going to do it. So, who's going to stop the driving lanes for Derek White, for Jaylen Brown, for Jason Tatum? Nobody is. That's the whole point. So, we have a much better matchup against the Mavs, especially offensively, because, look, I get that Kyrie and Luka has stepped up on the defensive end this postseason. They've done great. Yes. They have looked awesome.
Yes. I guess the NBA does play defense, but it's just in the playoffs.
Yeah, I am really, really excited to see what the Celtics are going to do to them on the defensive end. They're just going to wear them out on the offensive end. And again, against Minnesota, it's not as good of a matchup, in my opinion.
So how many games for a Mavs-Celtics series in your thoughts?
If it's Mavs-Celtics, it's always just so tempting to say 7 games, just because I respect the Mavs so much at this point. I've underestimated them for the last time this year. That's the way I look at it. I think, obviously the Celtics have stepped up in clutch time performances in the playoffs, but they haven't faced the 2 best closers in the NBA at the same time, which is what you would face in Dallas. So are you going to have complete meltdowns from the other team when you're down by 4 with 2 minutes left and you're facing Luka and Kyrie? I'd be pretty surprised. So, for me, I think that if Boston doesn't just overwhelm them to start out these games and continue that throughout the game, then they are probably going to lose just about every close game against the Mavs. And so for me, I say 7. The Celtics are really, really, really good on the road. So I think that they're actually going to win 2 games on the road. I think they're going to win game 6 on the road, and they're going to win probably game 3 or game 4 on the road. I'd say probably game 3 is the most likely, because what it's going to be is we'll probably win game 1, we'll probably lose game 2, we'll probably win game 3, we'll lose game 4, we'll lose game 5, and we'll win game 6 and 7. I just think that I think that that's kind of how that will work. I don't know. I don't see it.
I'd be tempted to say, man, and that's what's hard, because it's you're like what you're saying about underestimating Dallas. I kind of picked Dallas in their first round, almost kind of as a joke, and to have at least one different pick from you, but I felt I had good reasoning behind it.
No, and you did.
Yay, toot my horn. But I think we were both second round was there's no way Dallas gets past
OKC.
OKC. It's OKC is the hot team right now.
Well, Josh Giddey completely just fell off the face of the earth. I think literally whoever was guarding him, I can't even remember it now at this point, but whoever was guarding Josh Giddey was just basically double teaming somebody else, because they would just okay, go ahead, pass it to him. He's going to shoot 12% from 3. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then they would, and he would miss, and they were like, "Thanks, it's a free possession for us because he stinks." Yeah. And you're not going to do that against the Celtics. Yeah. There's no if Porzingis is back, then that means either Sam Hauser isn't getting minutes at all, or just the rest of the team beyond Sam Hauser's not getting him any minutes at all. So that means you have 8 3-point shooters in your rotation.
Yeah,
there is not one guy that you can leave open.
Can still jack up a few threes and make a few threes.
He made 7 threes in game 3.
I was thinking 6 or 7.
7 threes in game 7. He's 38. He's 38. It's bananas. Well, he's way older than I am.
Making out there making threes.
Yeah, so it's insanity. It's crazy to think that. But think about it. If Porzingis is back, that's your backup center who can still stretch the floor and play great defense, and he's going to play better defense if he plays less minutes. And then you've got Peyton Pritchard.
Honestly, if you really want to destroy them in the paint, put them both on the floor. Put KP and Horford on the floor. Give both your Jays a little bit of rest here and there, and keep them fresh, especially for the end of the game. I feel like almost any combination of Boston right now can just spread out the floor, no matter who they're facing.
Now, the thing that I will say is, we've alluded to it, is if Porzingis is not back, the Celtics are in trouble. Because KP against this Mavericks team is going to be a huge reason why they're successful. That pick and roll, look, if Al Horford is starting, do you know what the Mavs are going to do? They're going to run pick and roll and put Al Horford in the switch 100% of the time, and Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are going to go nom, 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 and they're going to drop 90 points between the two of them. They're just going to eat him alive. And it's not his fault. He does the best he can. He works his tail off on the defensive end. And 90% of the time, he's going to get a halfway decent contest minimum, if not a great contest. But I guess the basketball gods have deemed every Al Horford contest to be unsuccessful, no matter how good it is. Because I swear to you, I don't think I saw a single Al Horford contested, when he was out contesting a step-back jump shot in the entirety of the playoffs where the other person did not make the shot. It didn't matter how good it was. He could have had both his hands right here, picking the other person's nose, full on both hands up the nostrils. And they would have been like, I'm still going to wet it. It's not going to, it's just too bad. That's just how it goes. And, Luka and Kyrie are just going to eat him for lunch. So if KP's not out there, oh boy, we're going to be in trouble. Especially if it's the Wolves. If it's the Wolves, oh God, forget it. We're dead. They're going to get every rebound. It's just going to be, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, if the Wolves pull off some miracle, you have to be able to have KP, just to help.
But honestly, I said this earlier, I'm not afraid of either team. I think the Mavs, I talked at length already about how we match up against them offensively and defensively. I think we're going to be just fine, especially if KP's back. But Minnesota, I understand that they're good defensively. I understand that Anthony Edwards is a great player, and when he plays at his best, Karl Anthony Towns is really good. Why would anyone be scared of Karl Anthony Towns right now? He is the most inconsistent player I've maybe ever seen. When he is good, he could drop 60 when he's making. He dropped 60 points this year. By the way, they lost that game, LOL. But regardless, he dropped 60. He could drop 60 points when he's on. And he says he's one of the best. He's the best big man 3-point shooter, or the best big man shooter in history. I'd probably put him at number 2 behind Dirk. He's that good. He's really good. But man, when he's bad, he constantly fouls. He's always complaining. He's giving up offensive rebounds. He's missing every shot that he takes. He's taking really bad contested fadeaway shots that have no chance in heaven, hell, or any other place in existence of going in. When he's bad, he is single-handedly, I am puncturing sword holes into this ship and forcing us to sink. Why would I be scared of that? As a fan, when he plays well, all right, well, we're gonna have a tough time, but he played really well yesterday, and they still almost lost. So it's one of those things where why would you be scared of Minnesota at this point? Do they have enough offensively to keep up with Boston? I don't think so.
If Boston's
not in 7 games.
Yeah. If Boston's on, if Brown's getting 20 to 25, Jalen's getting 25 to 30.
Yeah.
Derek White's getting another 15, 18. Drew's getting this, 12, 18, somewhere in there too. It's they don't don't have the consistent offensive firepower.
Oh, yeah.
I feel in both series, but especially more so that, only way Boston's going to probably lose the NBA Finals is if they beat themselves, honestly. But
I agree.
But I feel like every series they've gotten better throughout the playoffs. And again, they swept the Pacers, one of the deepest teams, the highest scoring team in NBA history.
Yep.
And they beat them in 4 games.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to move on to baseball here, but there's one more thing I want to say.
Go for it.
I just forgot it, so we're going to move on to that.
If you remember.
I just completely... Oh, I remember. Squirrel. It's just we've been like this all night, folks. It's unfortunate. So
it's only Wednesday.
By the way, this playoff run is just further proof that there is no universe other than this hellscape we're living in currently that Rudy Gobert should have won Defensive Player of the Year. The fact that Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year is nauseating to me. Go look at game footage of people trying to play basketball against Victor Wembanyama on fast breaks, in transition, just on normal drives. They don't want to shoot the ball when he's near them because he's going to murder the ball into the 18th row every time. Like,
NBA awards are courtesy awards. It's all they are at this point. It's almost worse. It's the only sport that's worse is the NFL.
There was I think it was Denny Avdia of the Wizards, where he had a clean fast break. And Wemby kind of came from the side, and Avdia's got full head of steam. Wemby does not. And he pulled the ball out one-on-one. Like, he's 6'10". Like, he's not a small man. He went, nope, I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there with that grizzly bear. And you know what people do to Rudy Gobert? They purposely switch onto him because he can't guard anybody. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
like,
you're talking about pick and rolls. Pick and roll the heck out of Rudy Gobert for Boston.
Oh, yeah, Jason Tatum's going to just destroy him. Jaylen Brown's going to go, all right, bye, and he's going to run right by him. Or, I'm pretty sure Drew Holiday could post him up. I'm pretty sure he could.
I wouldn't put it past him.
No. Like, Rudy Gobert cannot guard
It's Drew, and he wants another ring.
Rudy Gobert could not guard a cat if you had him babysitting it.
Okay, now.
Like, honestly, he can't. Name one good defensive play he's had all playoffs. I'll wait. Name one key block that he's had as Defensive Player of the Year. Name one lockdown when he was switched onto a pick and roll. Name one time where he was like, dang, Rudy Gobert just stepped up and really had a great contest on that step back jump. Not one. You can't name one. He hasn't had one. He's terrible on the defensive end in the playoffs. He's been like that his whole career, and the only reason they're getting away with it is because Anthony Edwards is so good and Karl Anthony Towns has played just well enough and just enough games to get them by. There you go. That's my 2 cents. Baseball. All right.
Switching gears to baseball. I thought it would be fun to kind of just go over some of the, our surprises, disappointments of the season so far. About a third of the way through the season for most teams. Most teams have played anywhere from 52 to 56 games as of this recording.
Yeah.
And actually, as of this recording, the Guardians are the top team. They're tied for the top record in the AL.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
That's wild.
The AL Central.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
You have, with the Guardians and then...
The Twins are pretty good, too.
Guardians, Royals, Twins, and Tigers. Tigers! 4th in their division.
Yep.
4 teams from the AL Central make up the top 8 teams in the AL right now.
Who'd have thunk it?
Now, I don't know how Detroit's there. I looked at this initially a couple days ago.
Their pitching staff's really good.
Yeah, and that's it. Because offensively,
they're terrible. Their pitching staff is carrying them. Terry Skubal is
amazing.
amazing.
Their whole rotation, it's like 3/5 of their guys. One guy's like 1-5 with a 4.91 something ERA, and this is like, what? What is Detroit doing?
Yeah,
and
they lost their best pitcher in the offseason too, Eduardo Rodriguez.
So I don't think Detroit's kind of gonna sustain this.
I don't think so either. They're gonna be the Pirates of last year. The Pirates were in the playoff mix for like 90 or 100 games, and then they ended up with like the second worst record in the league. They just went, fell right off.
Yeah, we had fun. Which you can just argue will shorten baseball season, blah blah whatever. No, don't do that. Don't mess with that.
Everybody regresses to the mean eventually.
Sometimes I've sided on the side of let's shorten a little bit, give them a few more breaks. But you know what? It's baseball. longest sport. This has worked for the longest time. They've done other things to kind of modernize the sport. So I'll let you kick it off first. So AL standings are just kind of all over the place again. We're only 55 games into the season. Who's your biggest surprise so far in the AL?
Who is my biggest surprise? I mean, I'm gonna pick my hometown Red
Homer.
Sox. I can't.
No,
not,
I almost
right?
picked them too. But
yeah, and yes, I am a homer, and it's not even the record, right?
I mean, technically,
I said at the beginning of the season that I thought the Red Sox would hover around 500, maybe be a little below. Yes. I haven't looked at the records today, but I would assume we're right around 500.
One game above 500.
Okay, exactly.
And 2.5 games out of the final wildcard spot as of right now.
Okay, right. So that's kind of where around I figured we'd be all year. Is right around 500, which is good in the AL East. The surprising thing to me is the fact that our pitching staff, at least as of like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was when I last looked, I can't remember now. It might have been 3 months ago for all I know. I don't know. It wasn't that long ago. But like, we had the best ERA in the league as a rotation and as a bullpen. Like, our rotation stinks. Like, we do not have any good name players. Our best pitcher coming into the year was Brian Bello, or Bayo, or however you pronounce it.
Bayo, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Bayo. And he was injured for, a good handful of starts. And even when he has pitched, he's been very inconsistent. That was your best pitcher. And yet, you have the best ERA, dropping things, you have the best ERA in the league as of at least a couple of weeks ago. May not be the case now, but we're probably pretty freaking close if we're not still number one. So that's what's shocking, is that our pitching staff has been so good, despite the fact that we've got nobody. I mean, Tanner Houck, you know what? I'm really kicking myself, because when I was doing my fantasy draft this year for my fantasy league, we were getting down to like the last couple of picks, and I needed a reliever. And at the beginning of now, it wouldn't have mattered because Houck now in Yahoo does not have reliever status anymore. He had starter and reliever status at the beginning, but now he's just a starter. Like, I was like, okay, I got to pick Garrett Whitlock or I got to pick Tanner Houck. I picked Garrett Whitlock. Tanner Houck is number 11 as of right this second in my league, in terms of points. Garrett Whitlock blew out his arm and is out for the year. So there you go. That's it. I'm kicking myself. I should have gone with Tanner Houck.
I would have done Whitlock by myself.
Exactly. I was so back and forth.
I was lived up to the hype that he was supposed to have.
Like, oh my god, who do I go with? I don't know. Whitlock. And I just panicked because I was running out of time, and I went with it, and I shouldn't have. But anyway, point being, it's wild how good the Red Sox have performed pitching-wise this year. But yeah, we're going to probably hover around that 500 spot.
And Athletic, subscribe to them. Really love a lot of their content. They do a power rankings. When they did it a couple days ago, they did like superlatives for all the teams. I'll try to look up all the teams you mentioned. What the Athletic mentioned. They 5.2 wins above average for all pitchers. First MLB and this is Monday or Tuesday when this came out. And they at the very end, the writer that wrote this little blurb, he was like, the reason they're 500 is because their hitters are dead last in clutch metric according to Fangraphs.
That doesn't shock me.
The pitching staff is carrying them, and the hitters are just
stinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to say I saw Devers. He was on a cold streak, hadn't hit a home run in a long time, and finally got a home run somewhere like middle of last week or whatever, and or like the whole team hadn't hit a home run. I forget the exact.
Oh, I'm sure it was the whole team.
Streak.
Yeah.
And he finally like helped break the streak or something, and it's like, yeah, and that's the disappointing part too. Is like I felt Devers was supposed to, and not saying he can't be. He's still super young. I mean, I don't think he's even like 24, 25 right now. Still,
I think he's 25.
But he's still at a nice young age. He's got a good contract with them. He's basically the centerpiece of that offense, but he's not really living up to that right now. So hopefully he can turn that around, and if he can turn around, the rest of that offense can turn it around. Yeah, they got some good speed, around the team at the top of that lineup.
Yeah, Jarren Duran, Zdeno Rafaela.
Yeah. So I mean, what one team, and I kind of like, and it's one of those things too where, people drive Red Sox Field affiliate. We talk, seeing a bunch of prospects come. They got a decent amount of prospects that are coming through, that probably won't hit majors. If I don't think the Red Sox won't do like they did back in like 2016 to 17, where they rushed a few players for the minors because of injuries. The Red Sox aren't in that kind of position, and if they did have key injuries to their team this year, they're not in a position to really they don't want to call them up because they're at that 500 line.
Right.
But I feel like 25, 26, they got some good speed that's coming out in the outfield and in middle infield.
Sure.
To where some of these guys, some of these prospects coming up, they either can be trade bait to kind of get some good free agents or get that anchor of the rotation like you got in Chris Sale, back a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Or is this going to be another really young team like you had back in 17, 18,
mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, and they're all going to hit at the same time. So I don't know if that, lightning doesn't strike very often in baseball. It doesn't seem like it does that all, especially for the Red Sox, unfortunately. It has, but as again, in recent years, it hasn't again. But there's, it's almost like they're building a good base to be, hey, we're being as competitive with Kansas here. Give us another year or two, and we're gonna be back battling for the top of the AL East here.
Sure,
I think it's very possible.
I agree.
You and I can both talk Red Sox in so many different directions. Probably a whole pod ourselves.
Probably.
But it's to me again. That's just the nature of just being in Greenville so long, watching the team. All these prospects come through. Again, I need to look up later. It's like how many prospects have now. Say have had a major league debut once through the pipeline of the drive, because it's a lot.
Sure.
My surprise team, because I was thinking of the Red Sox as well, but I didn't want I was bouncing in between like the Red Sox. I saw the Tigers in that spot, but again I looked at them where they were the wild card, but then I realized they're still fourth in their own division. Then I figured out it's only because of their pitching staff. So then I saw something on the Royals. Again, this is I'm borrowing kind of from the Athletic a little bit, but it kind of gave me that little extra dive for the Royals. I'm gonna pull that up here. According to Fangraphs for the Royals, they have some of the best defensive metrics. That's what's really keeping them up. They have a decent pitching staff. I even looked them up. Offensively, they're actually doing good. They're not hitting a ton of home runs. They got 50 in the season. I think it was like right around the middle of the MLB as a whole. They don't even walk a lot. But they're 7th in all hits and they're 4th in doubles in all of baseball right now. So they're getting on base. One of the better team averages in all of baseball right now too. Again, look at the standings. Have that right here. They are
third in their division.
Yeah, third in their division. Actually second in their division.
They're Twins, second in their division.
Yeah, they're over the Twins by a couple games right now.
Oh, okay. I thought the Twins were better again, I guess.
Yeah, I even kind of went with them, almost went with them too. It's like I was looking at the AL Central. I was like, we pretty much trashed AL Central.
And the Guardians just said, "Here, hold my beer."
And it's like
blowing everybody out.
They're almost to 40 wins. Or we won the first team to 40 wins. So the Royals, doing well. They're in a wild card spot right now. They got a 3-game lead above their rival Twins. And the Red Sox and Tigers fall after them.
Sure.
But it's good to see that for Kansas City.
Oh yeah.
They won the World Series back in 2015. 16? 15. Pretty sure it was 15.
Just 15.
Thank you.
Yep.
But like right after they won that, they had a pretty decent season in 16. Then they went, wouldn't hear from them again.
As it happens with small market teams.
Yes.
You got that like 2 or 3 years where everybody's there, and then all their contracts are up, and you can't afford to keep any of them. And they go to the Padres and the Yankees and the Angels and the Dodgers and all the big teams. So.
Basically the Dodgers right now.
Pretty much just the Dodgers.
Yeah. The current day, the modern day Yankees from a couple of decades ago.
Pretty much.
Because I even thought of, so almost the AL Central as a whole. I almost kind of looked at the Guardians as like a surprise team, but I'm like,
sure.
At the same time, it's like I felt like we were kind of like in between the Guardians or the Twins, kind of taking that division. And not saying that all these teams couldn't fall flat and it's gonna, barely, an 85-win team's gonna win that division. Baseball's a long season for a reason, and you got to be in for the long haul. So much can you, but it's sustaining it and everything. But yeah, I'm just impressed by the Royals. Again, they're getting on base. Very good defensively. So if you're not making mistakes in the defensively and you're still managing to win games and get runs, The record, they have almost 35 wins. That's respectable. Again, they're probably going. They're probably gonna have to get the wild card to get into the playoffs. I think the Twins or Guardians over the long haul will win that division. But I mean, still very impressive for a small market team that only doesn't get a chance to shine year after year after year.
Sure, yeah, and I had said, I think it was on a podcast with you, that I wouldn't have been surprised if they won 70 or even 75 games this year. I think obviously they're on pace to win about 90-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less, but that would be a bit of an overperformance in terms of what I would have expected, and I think what most people would have expected. So I do kind of anticipate them falling off a tad bit as the year goes along, as kind of the schedule opens up and you get into the quote dog days of summer and stuff like that we're kind of getting to. That young pitching staff is going to eventually start to struggle.
Right.
They're not going to be able to hold what they've been doing forever. And obviously, I think offensively what they're doing is sustainable, which is why they're going to still be moderately successful. But I think eventually they will slow down a bit. But yeah, right now they are doing really, really well. I think they're somewhere around 32, 34, 35 wins.
Yeah, 34 if I'm looking at right now.
34, yeah. I mean, they're doing really, really well right now. I don't anticipate them winning 90 games. Going 90 and 72 or something. But I mean, they're on pace to do that right now. So who knows?
Yeah. So let's flip the tables. Most disappointing team in the AL for you.
Got to be the Astros. I mean, man, they stink.
Yeah.
Now, look, it's almost unfair because I'm pretty sure their entire starting rotation was hurt to start the year. Like, all 5 guys to start the year were injured. And, yeah, we talked about how much pitching depth they have, but at the same time, when all 5 of your projected starters are down to open up the year, you're going to struggle. And they've been better over the last, 15 games or so.
Right.
They're starting to get a little healthier and get back into the swing of things, but they're still below 500 last time I looked. So, they've got to be the most disappointing. I mean, obviously, you've got a couple other teams in there. A lot of the teams in the AL East have to be disappointed. I don't think the Orioles are playing all that well, from what they expected.
Second in the division.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the second in the division's what, 29 and
34.
Oh, they've won 34 games?
Yeah,
they're a little better than I thought then. Fine. I mean, the Rays.
But for a team that won 100-plus games last year, it's kind of
they're only on pace to win about 88 to 90. So, that's a bit of a step back.
Yeah.
Which is what I said would happen, by the way. If
yes,
you go back.
Yes.
That's what I said would happen.
You did.
And Cedric Mullins has continued to struggle. Obviously, their rotation outside of Corbin Burns has been mediocre. Their bullpen has not been as good as it was last year. So, there's a lot of things that you're going poorly for them. Gosh, their outfield. Oh, their outfield is so bad, dude. Look, I love Cedric Mullins. I love Anthony Santander, right? I forget who their left fielder is off the top of my head, but, they have played very poorly. And you look at their minor league team, and their minor league outfield is, blowing out every record of hitting for minor league outfields. They're just destroying AAA. And you're sitting there going,
when you call these guys out?
Can we kind of switch? Now, obviously, you're not gonna send Cedric Mullins or Anthony Santander down, obviously, but you can't call up what Kirk said or whatever his name is. You can't call Jackson Holiday back up. I know he struggled a little bit, but my God, so is everybody else. Let's go. Let's
baseball.
Yeah, let's pick this up here. But anyway, yeah,
stars will usually reassert themselves.
Yeah. So the point being is that there's quite a few teams that got to be disappointed. But I'm going to go with the Astros.
I feel like the AL, a lot of teams that we expect to be contenders aren't being contenders right now. And again, I think the AL, it's kind of a mix of some of those contenders had a slow start. Astros, I mean, they're obviously a lot better the last week or two. But the teams that we expect to be contenders aren't doing that great. The mid-level contenders are kind of staying at mid-level, but in this AL Central is kind of outperforming the AL as a whole. That whole mix is kind of what's going on right now?
Absolutely. And by the way, my hot take was Mariners were going to have the second or third best record in the American League. Am I correct?
They are currently the third best record in the league in 30-26. They lead their division as a recording by 3 games over the Rangers.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it's because that entire division has stunk a little bit. But at the same time, they're on pace to win about 90 games, which is what I said, which is a little less than 90 games. But still, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You'll take it.
And the way I look at it, too, is, I think the beauty of baseball in the schedule right now, you're playing everybody. You're not playing 50 games against your division. Or you're not playing 70 games. You're not playing half your schedule against your division, so you get to beat up, so the Mariners don't get to beat up on the Angels and the Athletics for half the season, like in previous years. So you kind of, these records are also reflective of a schedule that's everybody plays everybody, and
sure.
I appreciate that more. I feel like kind of can prove these teams are doing better. Again, like any sport, anybody can kind of win at any given time. You need a lucky bounce, the right hit at the right time. Especially in baseball. The slightest little miscue or just a couple wrong pitches in a row can really just turn a game on its head for baseball. But I mean, I think that to me, I would think, I don't know if there's actual data to prove this, but I would feel like, a more balanced schedule should lean towards being to have seeing more true records of
I agree.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's switch over to the NL. Your surprise team in the NL, when you told me this, I was not expecting this. Who's your surprise team in the NL?
It's a great question. Because honestly, I don't even remember anymore.
Oh. Come on now. You mentioned him earlier.
I'm sure I did.
I'm pretty sure I now have East Coast.
I now have to go back and look at what I sent you because it's been such a long record. At this point, I'm completely just blanking on my life.
I was honestly looking between a couple different teams.
I'm so tragically dumb. So it's pretty profound. Yeah, Nationals. The Nationals are the surprising team. I mentioned them earlier in this video. I'm so dumb. It's so incredible.
It's okay.
The Nationals. So their record is a little bit worse now. Obviously, I think they're like 24-30 now. Like they're a lot worse than what they were when I was kind of looking and kind of trying to pay attention. But
24-29 now.
Okay, yeah, close enough. I was off my game. But regardless, if they won 70 games, I would be like, wow, like that's an amazing year for them right now because they just have nobody. Like they don't I cannot name more than 3 players on that entire roster. I can name Mackenzie Gore. I can name Kybert Ruiz. I don't know if CJ Abrams is over there still. So that's 3. I don't know anyone else that plays for them. I genuinely do not know a single other player that plays for the Nationals.
Luis Garcia leads the team in RBIs. Eddie Rosario, wasn't he with the Braves last year?
I didn't realize he was over there in Washington. That's great. Good for him.
Guy that's leading home runs. So CJ Abrams is leading the team in home runs with 9. Joey Gallo, I guess, has landed over there after all this time.
Joey Gallo's over there. Great. Didn't know that. I think Jesse Winker, is he over there?
Yeah.
Jesse Winker's over there. Like a bunch of just, that's just a crazy. Oh, Joey Meneses too. I forgot about him. But I should not have forgotten about him. He's pretty good. But genuinely speaking, look at this roster. Lane Thomas, Jacob Young. What is that name? Yadarmo Vargas, Alex Call, Nick Senzel is over there now.
Nope.
Victor Robles is still kicking. What in the world? I don't.
Hey, there's wait, what? Oh, well, he hasn't had any stats. Never mind.
I just
there's literally a prospect I saw from 2010 that was a wow, Jordan Weems.
I don't know.
Old catcher for the Greenville Drive, and he basically stepped out of baseball, came back and tried to. He was an offensive player, came back as a pitcher. And apparently he's on the Major League roster for the Washington Nationals now after all this time.
Right, and hence my point is that even a Major League roster at this point, but they're performing pretty well. That's a tough division. It's not like they're sitting there playing the White Sox, the Angels, and the Athletics all the time. Like, they're playing the Phillies. They're playing the Marlins aren't that great this year, but they're playing the Mets. They're playing the Braves. They're playing the Phillies. Like, this is good.
They did for a wild card spot in the AL.
Exactly. So, like, you know, they have had a really fun year to start so far.
I mean, they are third. What I do find interesting too, they are third in their division.
Yeah, that division stinks.
You know,
the Mets and the Marlins are awful.
They're honestly only 3 games out of a wild card spot in the NL right now too, which is weird because I feel like the NL is like the teams that we expected to be bad are bad,
and the teams we expected to be good are good.
For the most part, are good.
Exactly.
Outside of 1 or 2 teams.
Yep.
So like the NL is just weird. Where
and the American League has just been just who the heck knows? Yeah, just like yahoo, like just
okay. Let's see what happens in a couple more weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's my surprising team. There's other more like probably sexy picks. Like, man, who thought the Phillies would be this good? Me. Like, yes, I did.
You did.
It's not surprising to me.
Yep.
I thought that, like, I said that if they played the way that they played in the second half of the year all year long, they'd win 100 games.
Yep.
And they're probably going to win 100 games. Like, I wouldn't be shocked.
Now, 39-18.
Exactly. And by the way, Ranger Suarez is my MVP pick right now.
Okay.
Like, I know we're not talking about that today. We didn't prep that, but I'm pretty sure he's, 11-0? Now, I know that pitcher wins are an incomplete stat and they don't tell the whole story, but a 1.5 ERA and 11-0.
That's the story.
He had one start, his first start of the year. He went 5 innings and gave up 5 runs. I'm pretty sure since then his ERA is like 1.1 or 1.2. He is murdering teams. He's just out there slinging it every game.
Which makes it even worse for the Braves that they don't have Strider or Acuna.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, who'd have thought Ranger Suarez? Dude, I drafted him in my fantasy league at like 290. Nobody wanted him. And I'm in a league that's dominated by pitchers, and still nobody wanted him. And I was like, I mean, he does well in the playoffs if he stays healthy. Sure, I'll take a swing on him. And he immediately like throws a shutout like in the second or third outing. I'm like, oh boy, like this is good. But no, he's my MVP pick right now. I mean, I don't like. I'm thinking through the NL. Like, yeah, obviously, like somebody like Ohtani who's got like 8,000 home runs already. Sure, like you could probably put him up there. But like, who else?
Right.
Who else is up there in MVP voting in the National League right now that's not a pitcher? I mean, even his own teammate, Zach Wheeler, is really the only competition that I can see right now for MVP voting.
That'd be crazy to see one team take the Cy Young and MVP and they're both pitchers.
That would be pretty funny. Can you imagine? Like, which one would you be more ticked off about? Like, if you won MVP as a pitcher but didn't win the Cy Young Award, and your teammate won the Cy Young Award, or if you were the teammate that won the Cy Young Award and didn't win the MVP because your other pitcher teammate won the MVP, you'd be like, but I was the best pitcher, and he's a pitcher. This makes no sense. Like, I would be much more ticked off at that. That would be hilarious to me.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I doubt it happens. But
yeah, it's not like football, like where it's like, oh, the best player is a quarterback, offensive player of the year,
another quarterback,
wide receiver. It's like, oh, well, if he was the best offensive player, well, that guy on offense you just gave the MVP to doesn't make sense.
Don't get me started. Like I said, the NBA awards are almost getting as worse as bad as the NFL awards. Don't get me started.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, so who's your?
I forgot to mention disappointing pick in the AL. I had the Rays there, kind of.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The Astros of the Rays again. I think a lot of people consider them a division contender. They are 4th in their division. And just haven't been great. They're not horrible. I believe they're still, they're not too off from wild card spot again. We're third of the way through the season. A lot can change. But I think kind of along the same line of the Astros, like we expected more out of them quicker than this. So they can maybe turn it on. But I think it was just kind of surprising for me to look at the standings and be like, oh, the Rays are the 10th best team in the AL right now. You wouldn't have thought that.
I mean, I had them
in top 5.
I had them win the division, so
yep.
They were a very close pick for my most disappointing team if I didn't have the Astros winning the World Series this year, and they stink. So, that's going to take the cake there. But, yeah, no, definitely don't blame me on that one.
Yeah. Most surprising for me on the NL is the Brewers. Again, just to look through the standings, Brewers are leading their division by a couple games. So, I mean, they're third seed. I was honestly looking at, again, I'm looking at the Brewers, the Cubs. They're the second wild card team right now, just a couple behind the Braves. Giants are right up there too. I feel like the NL West has been really competitive this year. Looking at the NL West, I mean everybody with the Rockies is above 25 wins. Giants are at 29, 2 more above 30. So I mean very competitive. And at this rate, depending on how the NL Central race ekes out, we could have 3 teams from the West. I think I alluded to that too when we did the preview. It's like a lot of these teams are good, and again, they hold the defending champion or defending NL champions, pennant winners. And the Diamondbacks are 4th in that division, but I mean, they just won the NL pennant last year, so it's just like, okay, well, let's see how competitive they are.
Yeah, they've really
for the Dodgers literally having every single free agent you can think of that's the best at their position. They've still lost 22 games.
Yeah, I know that they're missing a lot of their pitching. Buehler just came back. Kershaw's still out. So, obviously, Ohtani's not pitching this year at all. Right. So, you can kind of chalk it up to they have 2 or 3 really young starters that are out there that are still getting their feet wet. And their lineup has taken a hit in terms of depth.
They got Mookie. They got Mookie.
No, they have a great first, 4 or 5. But beyond that, James Outman, Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, it's beyond the first, beyond 1 through Muncie, it just falls off.
Machado's out there, I believe, right?
No, Machado's in San Diego. Sorry. Yeah. But 1 through Muncie, it's phenomenal. But then after that, it just falls off a cliff. So I can understand.
But still.
No, I'm with you.
They put themselves in a position of keep all the expectations on us. We'll evict there eventually. And they never get there.
I think this year might be it, though. I don't see anybody who's stopping them in the NL, at least.
Outside of Philly. I don't want Philly.
Philly.
And as a Braves fan, I'm just kind of Philly and LA are good right now.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, yeah.
And it's can they both lose if they are in the NLCS?
Yeah, exactly. But hey,
yay. Yeah. Brewers again. I didn't even. We mentioned them. Again, it's just I feel of all the NL Central teams outside of the Pirates. I honestly figured the Brewers were second to last place teams because they were just not great.
Yeah.
Again, the Athletic, 21 home runs with runners in scoring positions. Second in MLB in runs per game behind the Phillies. So offensively, they're doing well, and they weren't. I don't think they were expected to do well. Again, pitching wins it over the long run. Comes to the playoffs.
And they got rid of their best 2 pitchers.
Yeah. So
got rid of. They got rid of their best pitcher, and their other best pitcher's hurt.
Right. And so I mean, it's is it sustainable? Maybe. In a division that they're in, probably. It's going to very quickly, I think, probably come down between them and the Cubs for the division, and the loser's probably not going to make the playoffs. Depending on how the NL West shakes out, and if the second team comes out from the NL East.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree. I honestly thought the Cubs would be a little bit better than they were this year so far than what they've shown. I thought that they were going to win the division.
Yeah.
And I thought that the Brewers would still be
pick for the division, I think.
Yeah, I thought the Brewers would probably be third. I had the Reds kind of being better. Spoiler, we'll talk about them in a minute. Yeah. But I think the Brewers have slightly overperformed, and you diving into those clutch numbers actually makes a ton of sense because I don't know if we could cast our minds back here for just a second. In 2020, the New York Mets had one of the weirdest teams in MLB history, where they had as a OPS plus as an offense. It was I know it's only 60 games. Because it was a shortened year.
Right.
But, they had, the 9th best OPS plus as a team in the history of baseball, and they didn't make the playoffs because...
And that's when they expanded the playoffs.
Right. Because their averages with runners in scoring position were atrocious. They were just hitting solo home runs out the wazoo, hitting leadoff doubles, and then just leaving them there. Like, they just couldn't. As soon as a runner got on base, they just stunk. Like, they went from hitting like...
Who's that? What?
They went from hitting like
our guys?
293 with like a 400, like a 402 on base and a 490 slugging with no runners in, with nobody on base, to like a 240, 280, 360 slash line with runners in scoring position. Like, just absolutely atrocious. Like, one of the worst. Like, they were so like weirdly up and down all year. Like, that was the year that like Dom Smith was the best hitter in baseball for like a month. Like, it was such a weird year for the Mets. Like, it's like the Brewers are like the opposite. Like, they are just doing all of their damage with runners. So as soon as they get a runner on base, they're like, bang, 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 bang. Like, they're just going to... Which makes sense as to why they're mildly overperforming right now, because eventually those clutch numbers will come down, and presumably they'll come back down to earth, down to that slightly below 500 where I thought...
And again, their pitching is a story I didn't really dig into, but at the same time, it's like, if that pitching can't hold up or can't sustain, I mean, again, once you get, you win the division for the regular season, but, you have the defense and pitching to win the playoffs.
We'll see.
Your most disappointing team in the NFL.
I mentioned them earlier, Cincinnati Reds. Yeah. Oh, man, did I...
You had to be excited for this team,
Did I bet the world on the Mets this year? Or, excuse me, not the Mets, the Reds this year. I better not have bet the world on the Mets. That would have been a terrible...
They do have the most stolen bases in baseball.
That makes sense. They're a young, fun, athletic team, but their pitching sucks, man. Like, their pitching is awful. Like, you would have thought that the young guys would get a little better and maybe bring in a wily vet or two to kind of supplement everything, and they didn't. They brought in Nick Martinez as the closest thing. Like, and plus... Noelvi Marte suspended for 80 games, so he's not playing. Christian Encarnacion Strand is injured. I don't know how long he's out, but he's out for a while. And then you got, like, just a bunch of underperformance from a lot of these other guys. Like, and plus you have your outfield depth that's been shot because TJ Friedel has been out for a long time, and he was your kind of big center fielder that was really going to help out that lineup and help out that defense. Like, they're just not... very good. Now I would say, the underlying starter numbers are probably okay, but I think a lot of that is really going to be carried by your top couple of guys, like your Hunter Green, right? He's pitched very well this year for them. But I mean, outside of that, like, I can't really name anybody else that's performing up to par. And the sad thing is it's not like, I know I said that their pitching stinks. I probably was a little harsh, but their pitching is so mediocre that, like, it hurts. Like, it's like, you're looking up stats.
Yeah.
Are they like 15th in the league in ERA?
They were, I just have that up. I have their roster right now for their pitching stuff, but yeah, they were, I think, middle of the league.
Like, they're so painfully average. Frankie Montas. So painfully average. Andrew Abbott. So painfully average, but he doesn't walk a lot of guys. Hey, he's done pretty well with guys on base. A lot of guys get on base. His whip's pretty high, but not a lot of guys score off of him. So is he good? Is he not? I don't know. Maybe so. Nick Martinez, literally as like bone-jarringly average as it possibly can get. Like, just like a fourth or fifth starter that, like, maybe can move back to the bullpen, and he's just a team guy, and it's fine. And then you got Hunter Green at the top. Great. Nick Lodolo has been injured for a lot of the year, and that's really the only guy that when he gets out there, he kind of stinks.
They're right at league average for or at least they're 14th in the league for team ERA at 3.89, which, again, isn't horrible.
But it's not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. No.
Yeah.
It is painfully average.
Yeah.
And that's when I say that your rotation stinks. Like, obviously Hunter Green at times is going to be the better pitcher on the mound. There's basically no other games that the Reds are going out there thinking we have the better pitcher today on a consistent basis. in the National League especially, that has a lot of really good pitching. And in that division too. Like, it's just, yeah, they have really disappointed me. I thought that their offense would step up this year. It really hasn't. And so, yeah, they're very disappointing to me, which is weird because I think they have either the same record or a slightly better record than the team that I have as the biggest surprise. But at the same time, like, it's the expectation.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say, it's the expectations. We expected we expected the Nationals to essentially be, the White Sox of the NL. Well, maybe a step above.
Maybe the Angels.
Because the Angels. Because the Rockies are basically
the Rockies are
White Sox.
So bad, the Rockies.
Can we get relegation in baseball?
Ezekiel Tovar is a lot of fun though. That kid is really good. If you haven't watched him play,
we need relegation in baseball like English football.
Yeah. Shout out to Ezekiel Tovar though. He's a really good player.
Yeah. No. I mean, when we were kind of going back and forth a little bit about surprising disappointing teams, I had a feeling you were going to pick the Reds. So I was like, I got to figure out who I'm going to pick, and I literally looked at the NL standings, and like I said a little bit ago, the bad teams are bad. The mid teams are about mid outside of a couple. Yeah. And the good teams are good.
Because I'm trying to think of like a team that, maybe the Diamondbacks? Like, is that where you're going?
I have two. I'm going to go a different direction because the Diamondbacks are kind of one of those teams like you just won the NL pennant. Yeah. And you're fourth in your division.
Yeah, like that's I'd say
that's
not
hard.
Great.
But yeah. But again, nobody expects you to win the NL pennant last year, so it's like I can see that kind of a flash in the pan. It's great for the team. They have a young team to build around. Again, you're in a division with the Dodgers and a Giants team that knows how to win somehow, no matter who they have on that roster apparently, and the Padres that has Machado and Xander Bogaerts. I think,
and a pretty still good pitching staff.
Yeah, I was saying one of the better, and supposedly one of the better pitching staffs in the league.
Yeah, Musgrove, Darvish.
And actually, as I'm looking at that, they're 13th. They're actually
just ahead of the team. All right, maybe they're not as good as I thought.
In team ERA, and again, if we look at honestly, it's weird. If you look at WAR metrics, San Diego is just actually one of the higher teams in WAR metrics according to pitching staff stats.
Sure.
But ERA-wise, San Diego's right there, kind of.
And I feel like the Padres have played in a lot of extra inning games, so I wouldn't be surprised if that stat is like kind of skewed based on extra inning play. Like here, I'm actually interested. I'm going to look through this. I would bet any amount of money that the Padres have played more innings than any other team. 515. Has anybody played more than 515? 511.
Sort it.
Okay, we'll sort it. Yeah. Let's sort it. No.
Nope.
No one has played more innings than the Padres this year. So I'm not and we do the Olympian rule, right? The Olympics rule, right? Where somebody starts on second base, and that's earned runs. Like a pitcher just has to give up a single, where in a normal inning it's just a single. Who cares? But if they give up a single in that inning, it's a run. Yeah. And it's an earned run against that pitcher. And the blown save and everything like that, or in a loss, it's unfortunate for them. So I'm not surprised if that is a bit skewed based on the amount of innings that they pitch and the amount of extra innings.
There's so many. I was thinking with this when you're talking about I never forget what team now. There's so many stats in baseball. Or when you're talking about the Mets, it's kind of like one number can really tell a story, but it's like you have to.
You got to deep dive. Yeah.
You got to deep dive. You got to contextualize. Like, it's good because of this, but again. In clutch stats and runners in scoring position offensively, look at ERA, but it's like, well, where are those runs coming from? Is that ERA high because of the bullpen, but their starting rotation is really good, or vice, is it good or ERA because the bullpen's really good, and looking at WAR, Philly's far and above. How the heck is Boston second?
I don't know.
What?
Like, you're talking about a team that has
the Royals are third.
Two legitimate.
The Royals are third.
That's crazy. The Royals are third. Two legitimate Cy Young candidates and Aaron Nola in your rotation and Taijuan Walker in your rotation. And then you have Boston, who, unless you are a fan like you and I of Boston, go ahead, name somebody on the Boston pitching rotation that I haven't already mentioned, Brian Bale. Go ahead. And Tanner Houck. Go ahead.
I can't.
Go ahead. Nick Pivetta. That's the only other guy.
Pivetta's still there?
Yeah, Nick Pivetta. He's still over there.
I was thinking of him.
He's still kicking. He's still doing whatever. Cutter Crawford. Like, what are we doing? Who are we throwing out there at this point? It's insanity. Like, it's crazy. That's why they were my most surprising.
Oh, yeah, and Kenley Jensen, he's got 9 saves in this season already.
Good for him. Good for Kenley. But,
yeah. It's sort by wins here, Justin Slayton, Chris Martin.
Okay, I'm gonna look into the camera. I don't know who that is. I don't know who Justin Slayton is, and he's third on our team in wins. That's what I'm talking about. Who are we throwing out there? This is insane.
Yeah, but what are we looking at right now?
Who is Greg Weissert? Who is that man?
We should just sit here and go through. Who is this?
Brad Keller got released from a team twice this year. And he's out there and he's got a 2.25 ERA for the Red Sox. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. I mean, Lord.
He's been a farm system guy until like the last 2 years. And they're all with the Yankees.
Screw you, Yankees.
Hey, they don't need him. They have the best pitching staff.
Oh yeah, no, their team's really good. Hey, listen, that's another one I got right. Everybody was saying like, I don't know, man. The Yankees are probably still going to be middle of the pack. They're really freaking good, guys.
Yeah. And it's their pitching staff this time.
And without Garrett Cole, it's Nestor Cortez. It's Carlos Rodon. It's who else is out there right now? Who else has been in that rotation? Why am I completely going blank? Because Luis Severino's not there anymore. Who else is in that rotation? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Michael King? Is he still? No, he's with the Padres now, isn't he? I know. That young kid.
Stroman's out there.
Oh yeah, I forgot Stroman's there. Lewis something. Lewis
Gill.
Yes, thank you. And then I don't know who their fifth starter is. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, is it like? Oh, is it Clark Schmidt? Is he their fifth starter?
He's got 5 wins for him. 5 wins, 2.52 ERA.
60 innings. Yeah, he's got to be.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver is out there in New York. This is like I'm learning stuff too. But yeah. So there you go. So it's Rodon. I mean, look at that.
4 of their 5 starters are under a 3.0 ERA.
Look at Lewis Gill's stats. He's 6-1, 11 and a half strikeouts per 9. 0.5 home runs per 9.
So you're not getting home
batting. His BABIP is 203 as a starter. That's insane. Like the kid is so good. I don't know how he hasn't been called up before this, but yet weirdly his WAR is only slightly above Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, I think it's the team leadings. Yeah, they're the best. According to WAR, again. Baseball contextualized. That's how we got this rabbit hole.
I guess Cortez has thrown a lot more innings, so I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lewis Gill is actually leading in WAR. That's crazy. Anyway, but yeah. So regardless, this just been baseball's weird. That's what I have to say.
Yeah,
baseball's weird.
I feel
not as weird as last year though. Last year was just weird.
For the most part, baseball to me across professional sports, NFL is probably the most parity. Baseball, your top teams are usually your top teams, and every couple of years you always got your couple surprise teams. Last year, Arizona and Texas. So it's like, who's this year? This Arizona and Texas. Apparently, the Kansas City Royals are one of them.
City.
Maybe the Brewers.
They're not going to be. There's no way their pitching's keeping that up. There's just no way.
And then basketball, it's like who is it this year?
Yeah.
Because I feel like even the top teams change every couple of years.
Yep.
Pretty much. Again, Denver will run. Boston's had a run for a few years, and Wolf for a couple more years. Denver will for a couple more years. But it's again, those next 8-10 teams change constantly.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about basketball is only 5 guys play at a time. So if you have 1 or 2 guys that, one or 2 things that fall your way, like you're going to be in the mix every year. I mean, just look at. I mean, yeah, the Eastern Conference. You can make jokes about how bad they've been all year, but if everybody's healthy, you've got 7 legitimately really good teams.
Yeah.
If not 8 legitimately really good teams, because you got Boston, New York, Milwaukee, Indiana, Cleveland, Orlando, Philly, Miami.
Yeah. I was like, the fact that Philly was like 8 or 9 on your list there, holy cow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd throw Miami in there. Based off last year,
I think that they're
this year.
I think they're fine.
Actually, did you see, going back to basketball, did we get through our... Yeah, I think we got all through our teams.
Yeah.
Go back to basketball. You see that Sixers are supposedly interested in Jimmy Butler And they're willing
I'm sure they've been
willing to give him the max contract.
I bet they are. I bet they are willing to give him that max contract because they're kicking themselves every second of existence that they didn't do it the first time. Listen to me. The man that they picked over Jimmy Buckets, who is like Michael Jordan's offspring in the playoffs, was a man who in Game 7 of the playoffs this year had that many points in Tobias Harris. He went over in Game 7 against the Knicks. Over. You're paying $32 million a year for that man. Like, even at the time, we were all like, you picked Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
And that was before Butler became the playoff legend he's become.
And we were all still back then saying how stupid of a decision that was.
Yes.
And guess what? It turned out to be true because Philly hasn't won a darn thing. And Jimmy Butler has...
It's too little too late for Philly, too, because it's like, again, you just listed off 6-7 other teams before you even mentioned Philly. And it's like,
yeah, and Philly's going this way, and those teams are coming this way.
The Knicks, the Pacers, the Cavs, Cavs are kind of borderline for me, depending on what they do with...
this offseason is going to determine what their future is,
But again, when you have Milwaukee with Giannis, when he's healthy, and Dame when he's healthy, when you have Milwaukee, if you get the Knicks all healthy, and you get... we're going to be right back up there next year.
Orlando's
right there.
They're young.
Like,
they're going to be
Philly's
better.
going to be lucky to get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs if they make the playoffs.
Listen, guys, don't sleep on the... I know that they were pretty bad this year after the trade, but don't sleep on the Raptors. They got a lot of depth out there now, and they saved up a lot of money. You got R.J. Barrett. You've got obviously still like Isaiah Quickly. Like you can or Emmanuel Quickly, not Isaiah Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly. Like you can actually find Jakob Poeltl when he comes back. Like those are 3 decent pieces. You could have they could win. They could be an 8 seed. They could be a play-in team next year. And who knows? Maybe they sign somebody in free agency. They lure somebody out there. Maybe they trade for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe they trade for Brandon Ingram. I'd love that for them. Trade for Brandon Ingram. Like then you've got R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly. And then obviously Jakob Poeltl and whoever else you can draft and Scotty Barnes. My God, how do I forget Scotty Barnes? He's their best player. I'm so dumb. But like that's a decent core. Scotty Barnes. Like if you did Brandon Ingram at the 3, Barrett at the 2, Quickly at the 1, Poeltl at the 5, and Barnes at the 4. I'd take that lineup. That's a pretty good lineup. I'm not saying it's a championship-winning lineup or anything, but that's a good lineup. Like that's an 8 seed or a 7 seed or a 6 seed lineup. I'd take that if they're healthy.
That's playing for your life at the end of the season to see if you can get out of the plane and not have to worry about.
And plus, what do they have? Like the 7th pick in the draft this year? Like that's not bad. Probably. You can get a good player with that pick.
Sure.
You can get a decent point guard with that.
Yeah.
In this year's draft, good, great. Like, I like the Raptors, too. And who knows what's going to happen with the Nets, man. Trade for Mikal Bridges. There you go. That's another good piece you could trade for. What in the heck are the Brooklyn Nets doing, by the way? Who knows? They're terrible.
bad. I kind of forget
they're terrible. I know. Like, they're so bad.
I'm not sure who was worse.
Their best player...
I'm not sure who was worse this year, Charlotte or Brooklyn.
Their best player never plays. Cam Thomas. He's their best player, and they never put him out there. Every time they put him out there, he drops like 40. And they just bench him for the next game for some reason. Like, I don't understand, but anyway... So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. We've blabbed here long enough for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. But I'm sweating. Dan's probably sweating.
No pick for Toronto in the first round next year.
They don't have a pick?
They go to San Antonio. Ugh. Sorry to burst.
Oh, Toronto. Well,
as you conclude the video.
You silly geese. And by the way, I said 7. It was 8. I was pretty close. But anyway,
I wouldn't bring that up.
No, that's a good. No, thanks for calling it. I didn't realize that. What trade? Oh, it was probably the Jakob Poeltl trade.
Oh, it was Poeltl. When they took Poeltl back, right?
Oh, yeah, when they took Poeltl back, yeah. They traded him away in the Kawhi Leonard trade and then traded back for him.
That's weird.
So
basketball's weird.
The funny part of that is, if you think about it, they traded away Jakob Poeltl along with a bunch of first-round picks. And then they traded Jakob Poeltl and gave up more first-round picks. So they just keep on throwing first-round picks to the Spurs. They're like, here you go.
Hey, we took a player from you before.
Take
really
our
well.
future.
Let's get that guy back.
I mean, it worked out for the Raptors. They won a chip. That's all that matters.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, let's do this again. Even though it's a guy that we already gave you.
Yeah.
But we won that chip.
Exactly. It worked out. But anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you all so very much for it has been. Thank you so much for sticking around. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you all next time. Buddy, welcome back to the Lopes Goes Last podcast channel. Channel? Oh. That's not a word.
Keep it in.
Keep it in! No, I can't keep that in. That's terrible.
You need to clip that at the. You need to clip this.
Yeah, 100%.
At the very end of the pod, just go to black really quick, come back up. Keep it in.
Keep it in.
Fade out. I mean, it's the thing to do on podcasts now, right?
All right.
Oh god, this is gonna be a long night.
Oh dear. Okay, I got this. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lopes Goes Last podcast channel. It's not as funny when they don't understand the context. I couldn't keep it in.
Yeah, why could have done a live stream tonight.
Oh, damn it. Okay. All right, for real this time. I got this. Okay. All right, are you good?
No.
Okay, well, you let me know when. We'll be all right.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll smile big and hold it in.
Crap, dude. This is a crapshoot already.